Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending our webinar series called Transformation Essentials. My name is Vijay Anand. I generally compare and also curate the guests who generally talk to you in these webinar series. So today is the second edition of our Transformation Essentials, and we have an in-house speaker in the form of Mr. Rajesh Kumar, who is the co-founder of FACE, and he's going to be talking to you about how to win over recruiters remotely. So this session is for basically officers and staff of the training and placement units in campuses across the country. So if any of you students, if you're in this webinar by mistake, this might not be too relevant for you, so I request you to please sign out. And I repeat that this is only for the training and placement officers and staff of the training and placement departments. So I'm going to now hand over the presentation to Rajesh, and over to you. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. It's good to be back in this session. Quick check before we start rolling. Can you see my screen? Vijay, if you could please confirm.
Yes, Rajesh, we can see your screen.
Okay. Can you also see my presentation?
Yes, yes.
Fantastic. Are we giving our participants a minute to join in, or are we?
Yes, please. I think some of them are indicating some difficulties in the app. So maybe if we could just give them a minute. And in the meantime, if you could please shed some light on why we are running this webinar series and why we have named it Transformation Essentials, that would be great.
What we have effectively realized is this is a situation like never that any of us have seen in our living lives, in terms of the way the whole economy is getting disrupted, the way industry is getting disrupted, and just the way we are our day-to-day activities and living perspectives are, like, say, getting questioned and changed. In these extraordinary times, what we realized is a lot of our clients and partners, both academicians, academic institution representatives, as well as even our corporate partners, many of them expressed their anxiety around how they could catch up and transform quickly to catch up with whatever is the ongoing thing in terms of their day-to-day activities, in terms of their medium to long-term plans and projections and strategies, all of these aspects. So, and hence we came up with the overall idea of doing a webinar series, which we aptly have titled as Transformation Essentials, where whether we like it or not, we are required to transform, and we are transforming in many ways, right? So this whole session is predominantly around overall transformation in order to successfully battle out the changes that have already happened with or without our acceptance and liking. And then this is where the whole thing is going to be. During a slew of these sessions, we're going to, like, say, give you excerpts from our own experience as an enterprise, how we went about transforming ourselves, as well as our clients and partners in terms of how they have gone about adapting to the changes that are playing out in the universe that we are currently residing. Should we, like, say, start?
Yes, Rajesh, I think we can get started.
So hello everybody to all those who have joined us just a little while ago. We were just getting started on setting the context for why we are doing this entire transformation series in the interest of whatever changes that we are seeing on this current situation and all of those things. Now, some ground rules around this whole thing. We have a chat option for all of you to, like, say, put in your thoughts and questions. I request you to, like, say, put in your questions there. During the flow of the presentation, I may not be able to check those points that are out there, but the way we'll structure this is, like, we'll take the first 30-35 minutes to like say deliver whatever we have prepared, and the remaining 15 to 20 minutes for Q&A, where we could have a one-on-one around how if you whatever doubts and clarifications that you may have, we could like say go about it. Without any further ado, let's jump right in. Now, what a lot of you had like say also asked us on direct mails was, what are the, obviously everybody is anxious about what the placement scenario is going to be. In the past session that we did also, we did call out as to while the placements seem to be like say affected, but it's not as bad as what all of us thought. There are still a lot of segments and sectors which are actually out there, giving a good opportunistic or futurist brighter prospect in terms of their own manpower addition perspective. Some of the sectors that overall when you look at it are these, and then more pertinent to the audience that we have on a session today. The good news is the IT products and IT services segment are like say looking very, very prospective. Nothing seems to be like say affecting them in that sense. So that's the good part about the entire play itself. We'll quickly. Before we jump in, the session was primarily around how do we engage with our recruitment partners in the revised universe, revised scheme of things that we are looking at. Now, everybody is talking about taking things to be conducted in a digital way and manner and all of those things. While it's so seemingly easy for us, the detailing is where a lot of us seem to be like say struggling, is what we realized. And then this entire session, we're going to like say talk about all of those aspects of it, where we will be able to like say give you a good sense of what are all the things that you're required to do and how will you go about upskilling or enabling yourself in order to capitalize on this opportunity. As much as this is a challenge, it's also a great opportunity, and the ideas and the thought that we'll share in this particular webinar will also help you in your regular walks of life, is also something what we believe. Now let's jump right into, at the end of the day, we are talking about reaching recruiters. These are typically campus coordinators or university hiring reps across this entire stream of companies that we target. As a training and placement professional or a management representative, our interest is to go out there, connect with our representatives or college liaison professionals. In the past, what we would do is, like say, fix up a meeting, go visit them, have a small talk, make presentation, leave a brochure, and probably invite them for some events in college. It could be as serious an event as convocation. It could be like say a technical symposium, any of these things. Or it could be a straightforward come and join us for recruitment season, which is going to come in such and such a date. Our entire way of working was predominantly like say physical, and then there was a lot of merit in the overall touch and feel aspect of the whole relationship building that we had. Now suddenly we require to like say do all of these things digitally, even if they are people with, even if they are recruiters that we are already familiar with. For us to like say suddenly make that switch, even from their end as well as our end, it's always been a challenge. This is for existing people. I think that is still like a covered, somewhat addressed area, because both parties are like say kind of struggling. It's not so much of a challenge as what we anticipate. The real challenge is finding new prospects. We were also looking at a lot of industry data, and from our own experience of interacting with recruiters, recruitments are going on even today, particularly for IT industry. More so in the case of like say those roles that require remote performance, remote working sort of a situation. I'm sure all of us are already aware that a lot of even health sciences related industry is looking forward to a lot of technology support for them to seamlessly operate. And in all of those contexts, technology translates to IT, IT translates to like say software developers, and which is exactly what the opportunity for us is. I'm just taking one segment per se, but rest of this industries, rest of the segments are also like say necessarily part beneficiaries of the whole thing. So all things considered, the primary objective or the first core of the problem that we're looking to solve here is to go through or get through to decision makers. Now, how do we do that? I know we have done all of these things, but I'm going to predominantly focus on social media channels. In the subsequent slides, we'll also talk more about how and what of leveraging each of these aspects of it. But I'm primarily going to call out, just in the interest of structure that we have for the presentation, we need to find decision makers. Right? At the end of the day, decision makers, if we are able to reach out to them and resonate with them in terms of saying that we have such and such a talent, why don't you, like, say, come in and engage with us to find your quality pick? That's the eventual end game, right? And then we can happily go about doing it by following a very structured approach. Not that we were lacking structure, but in a revised situation, where do we find opportunities? Where do we find decision makers is what we want to focus on. Uh, the most popular ones are LinkedIn and Twitter. We have also, like, say, called out Facebook as a medium, but that's more to, like, say, build further on the rapport. What we also found is there are a lot of WhatsApp groups, Slack channels, as they may be called, where recruiters, TA professionals are very, very active. At the end of the day, as much as it's our responsibility to, like, say, find opportunities for our students, it's the TA professionals or recruitment teams' responsibility to find good people for their organization. So it's more of a very, very equal relationship that we can necessarily go about pulling out. And if you're able to, like, say, find them across social media today, whether we like it or not, we were reading, looking up some of those statistics. The social media consumption for some of the job roles, like, say, recruitment or HR function itself, have gone through almost 300 to 400% in terms of their own activity and activation. This is we was talking to a very senior executive at LinkedIn. Just the sheer volume of posts and interaction on LinkedIn from people titled or departments titled as human resources have gone up by 400%, which means the other side of the stream of things are extremely, extremely active. This gives us enough reason to, like, say, get hold of those professionals, get hold of them in that particular manner in the places that they're extremely active. So the equivalents of the events that we were, like, say, used to attending, like, say, NASCOM, HR Summit and all of those things, are your virtual events. And obviously, we in the physical event, we had the comfort of just passing by and, like, say, shaking hands and, like, doing a business card. In a digital event, we just have to, like, say, strike a rapport digitally. We'll talk about those things in subsequent things. So one is identifying, finding decision makers in the social media. The most powerful, and of course, social media also scares a lot of us in terms of, like, say, what do we put? If we put something, like, say, not inappropriate, won't we get, like, say, mocked upon? All of those anxieties are there, but trust me, sirs and ma'am, it's not very complicated. We'll decipher that also for you as we go along. Now, the next aspects where we can find, see, the opportunities are being listed out. So today, when we talk to a lot of recruiters as to what they're doing to find talent for their own requirement, predominantly everybody is today relying on job portals, fresher job portals as well as experienced job portals, because what they also resonate and respond is a lot of institutions which they were traditionally engaged with are expressing their inability to administer and conduct selection processes and all digitally. And hence, they don't want to spend a lot of time and effort just trying to find proper institutional partners where they could go and do recruitment in that sense. So hence, a lot of them are, like, say, going to online portals, and from there is where they're able to, like, say, pull out all of these candidate prospects and everything. So if they are posting their job requirements there, and if we can go out there and fish for job opportunities, that is, like, the best place, because there is a good chance that those recruitment organizations will be in our target set already. But because of whatever reason, communication gap and all of those things, maybe they are not reaching out to us already. And we can take this opportunity to, like, say, reconnect with them. So if we, as a general thumb rule, if we start getting more active on social media channels and closely follow and track our online job portals for our target group of target segment of companies, I think between these two, we can find most of our decision makers. And of course, the tried, tested traditional methods of, I'm sure over the years as an institution, we would have built a long database of recruitment contacts. And the one thing what we typically I have seen a lot of our institutional partners also do is miss out on periodically updating. We typically like say send out invitation to recruitment at the start of the academic season, and after that it's like somewhere towards the end of the first semester or something that we send out another mail. And we have seen that a lot of us don't really push forward in terms of like say periodically engaging them in terms of success stories and whatever is the development. So if we can leverage our database that we already built, because these are all people who have had some experience or some understanding with us, some exposure to us, to our quality of students and talent and faculty and all of those things. It's a good thing for us to if we can explore all of these things. I'll move on to the next one. Many of them seems very straightforward from the presentation that I made here, right? Now, it's not like we don't know how to reach our decision makers, but what a lot of our recruitment counterparts, when we talk to them, talk about is we want to like say put everything in a simple or a single email or maybe like say a PDF and then stuff everything and like send it out with so much of detail that they are not able to like say actually digest. What we need to also understand is if he is a very active organization which is looking at hiring students at the entry level very aggressively, we need to know that they will also be getting a lot of requests from a variety of colleges. The only way we can stand out from rest of the clutter that they get, even if they are like some company that we have not interacted with in the past, is drafting very simple, easy to grasp things. In fact, one of the recruitment in charge was the TA heads of a tier 1 IT company was jokingly telling that we when they get an invitation to recruitment, the fact that they look for is what are the kind of students that they have and when will they be available for joining. These are the two things that they look for. But most of the mail pretty much like say only talks about the college, their accreditation, multiple of those things. I'm not meaning to say that that information is not relevant, but what they're looking forward to should be like say in the synopsis of the mail itself. For instance, nobody has the patience. Everybody checks their mails on mobile phones only today. If you write a very long or a very differently articulated or formatted mail, more often than not, they'll not be able to like say grasp the gist of it. The most powerfully written mails are never longer than like say 200 words or 150 words. At the end of the day, all the preamble about our institution and the history of institution, all of those things can all be like say in a later point. The simplest of emails that would look like this is a dear professor or dear Mr. So and so. I'm representing such and such a college. We have a set of students who have certain of these skills. They are ready to join from such and such a date. We invite you to like say conduct a recruitment process. Some of the highlights of the students are the contest that they may have won, the coding proficiency that they may have demonstrated, or any of the other things, prizes that they would have won. This is all. All of this can be like say very concisely put in a manner of like say 200 to 250 words. Absolutely. But more often than not, we don't do that, and we end up like writing first two paragraphs is just about the college and all of those things, and it gets very difficult for TA heads to actually pay attention to so many mails and like say see through all of this information. So if you're able to like say look, give them two information very critically. How many students do we have? What are their skills? If you can just highlight these two, information, it will be like say extremely powerful as a pitch to the recruiter itself. Just a quick audio check. Is my audio all right? Just to be sure, because I got a couple of messages saying that the audio is not clear.
There was a small break, but now it's
all right, right? Great.
Yeah.
Now, so first is to like say those good, proper, well-crafted emails. The thumb rule is 200 to 250 to maximum 300 words of mail. We can definitely add a brochure as an attachment, but definitely not convert the brochure into a full-blown mail body itself. That will not serve anybody's purpose. Now, the best ambassadors of our institution and the talent available are alumni. More often than not, we have seen that a lot of institutions don't necessarily leverage this alumni network effectively. For various reasons. It's either like say the TNP office doesn't, in most cases, TNP office and alumni office are two different entities, and because of which there is not so much of an overlap. But ideally, if they can be housed inside the TNP office, that's the best thing to happen. And those students who are in good positions in our institution can definitely be, like, say, the torchbearers of a whole thing, of our brand itself as an institution. Now, for those who have not built out a strong alumni network already, how do we, like, say, go about connecting with them? Again, the answer is LinkedIn. Finding out students who have graduated out of our institution, and particularly those of them who are active in these leading institutions. If you just have a very simple LinkedIn premium account, you will be able to, like, say, peep through and find out. Even if as a TNP head you don't have the time and bandwidth, if you could just depute some junior person or even call for student volunteers, they will be able to, like, say, help you pull out the entire set of students and recreate the entire alumni network. At least, if not for the entire batches, those companies that we are in our target list, if we can capitalize. Uh, from our personal experience, when an alumnus who's performing well in a company goes and talks to the recruitment head, there is no way that the recruitment head is going to be, like, say, refusing the request itself. Those are the best things to happen from a somebody vouching for us in the internal system, and, like, say, necessarily making sure that we are getting the much needed visibility in this clutter of companies, institutions that are anyway, like, say, approaching. Now, we also need to closely engage with all of these. So, like I said, in all of, like I mentioned in the previous slide, finding our recruiting partners on social media is the important thing, and engaging with them at the very least will start with, like, say, responding to their posts and comments. Like I said, the HR fraternity has enhanced their activity on LinkedIn by almost 300 to 400%. So which means that everybody is active out there, and if we can build a conversation, not necessarily have to, like, post some unique or identifiable content, but we can definitely at the very least start responding to messages and sharing and reposting their messages. That's the easiest way to go about getting the whole thing going in terms of an engagement. At the end of the day, it's a very simple trade, right? Just the way we find it very exciting as human beings, we always are looking for social recognition. If we are able to, like, say, just the way we look at how once we make a post or put a photo of ourselves or our family in social media, and we get a lot of these comments, HR professionals also are expecting the same thing, albeit in a very professional manner. So in that context, if we can go about figuring out how to engage with them just by reposting, resharing the tweet, if it is a Twitter post, if it is a LinkedIn post or a Facebook post or any of these things, we don't have to be, like, subservient, but we can be, like, genuinely vocal about what their responses are. That will be a fantastic way to engage. And over a period of time, if you're very periodically, like, doing it, you've built a great relationship with the recruiter, and that's the best thing to happen. Now, in our entire engagement process, let's say we have started the whole process by sending out a well-crafted mail, and we catch their attention on alumni through alumni pushing it. And of course, we also, like, say, get the entire social media angle also covered. It will all come down to the most important thing, because in today's situation, we're not going to be able to ask for meetings. We're definitely really required to, like, say, engage with them over telephonic calls or maybe, like, say, video calls. For all of these folks, it is very, very important as to what is the elevator pitch going to be. The first 1 minute of the conversation will be the most important, and whatever I mentioned about the crafting the mail also applies to this also. While we are extremely proud about our university or our institution, we need to keep in mind that sorry, give me 1 minute. We need to keep keep it in mind that they are not going to be very concerned about what is that our overall fame and all of those things. At the end of the day, they are necessarily looking for some immediate prospects from a candidate that they could hire and onboard, and which is what our focus should also be. In those elevator pitches, same structure. You're representing such and such an institution, which is one line description of the institution which is so old, so many years, so many accreditations, so many laurels. And then we have so many students of such and such skills who are ready to be onboarded to such and such a date. That's more like the elevator pitch is going to be. Please note all of this in the context of new acquisitions. I'm not talking about, I'm not referring to I'm not referring to past relationship that you have, purely in the context of new account that you will like say new client that you would like to bring on board. Now, presenting an overall good presenting yourself in an overall picture in LinkedIn groups or any of the other social media groups is also very critical. What we have found is a lot of us are very passive consumers of content on most of the social media. We'll at best probably like say put a like or a reaction to most of the posts, and we never actually go about meaningfully contribute. Even if we have some points, it is very difficult for us to like say we have our own inhibitions around posting it out there. So that's the whole point. We need to have we need to be well read about what the developments are in the market in that sense, and be able to offer unbiased opinions and views, and thereby adding value to the conversations which are happening on a post or any of those things. Yeah, the final point on reaching out to social media through social media is like say it may happen that just one particular medium may not be very viable in terms of capturing people's attention. So across board, obviously it's a bit of a process. But once done that, it's imperative that we engage with all of them. Billions, but somehow capturing the
Rajesh, your voice is breaking. So the last minute or so, we could not hear you. It's still not clear, Rajesh.
Any good quality talent. Now, what is it that they're looking for? And in today's sorry, Vijay, come again?
Sorry, the voice was breaking for the last minute for some of us. So if you could just repeat the last part.
Yeah, sure. So sorry for the inconvenience. Like I said, catching the attention of the recruitment fraternity is the most important thing. How do we go about doing it? We've kind of tried to put some topics here. At the end of the day, the recruiter is looking for talent acquisition, talent to be acquired through multiple channels. And one of the channels is like say campus or off-campus route for him. So as with any relationship building or conversation building, we need to put the recruiter at the center of things and then see as to what are all the things that will be of interest to him or her. At the end of the day, his business partners are going to ask him for such and such a quality of talent available at such and such a timeline. And if you're able to like be creative, depending on the institution that we are from, be creative about it, we will be able to like say capture their attention and build long-term relationships is what our experience says. Like for instance, many of us may be from affiliated institutions and may not have the luxury like how a autonomous institution or a private university or a deemed university have. We more often than not believe that it is very difficult for us to like circumvent the typical constraints that are laid out by academicians and academic fraternity. But I think it's more about we have to be more creative. The simplest thing, right? Right now there are there is a lockdown till about 2 months, for at least for the next 2 months. Can we create micro internships or can we provide talent for very short duration? At the end of the day, they want the recruiting company wants enough evidence that the students that we provide are good, and then the traditional way of asking them to just to come and hire for full-time roles may not quite happen right away. So can we be creative and see if we can provide or propose micro internships or even project based? At the end of the day, today everything is going to be remote, whether they like it or not. So either micro internships or project based engagements for the students, it will be like say, the most exciting thing. And even from a 2021 batch, I'm just referring to, because 2020 batch is almost out of the equation for us, and they're just waiting for graduation. From 2021 batch, and we have seen some of our clients, universities and colleges actually do this, where they figure out ways and means to keep the academic system working, and then give the candidates to the industry for them to be like absorbed for micro internships projects, and all of those sort of very time bound deliverable. Some of the other ideas is yeah. So that is just one idea, but I'm sure, like say, given your institute's constraints or challenges, we can always like say discuss. We'll be able to like say we'll be able to like say maybe get on one-on-one discussion to be able to like say provide this whole consulting in terms of if you have some ideas that you would like to get them to engage with. Now we'll move to the important part around overall increasing the visibility. See, as a training and placement professional, it is very important that slide 6. Yes, Mr. Dakshinamurthy, this is the slide. Is it okay, sir? Can I move on? Maybe after this presentation, we can probably share this PPT itself. That's probably for the benefit of everybody. Is that okay? Yeah, I'm going to assume that as a yes and move on, please. Just this time. Yeah, so we'll come to the most important part for us as TNP head, TNP heads and placement officers of various institutions. How do we increase our own personal visibility? We did touch upon uh, some aspects of it, but this slide summarizes everything. So at the end of the day, we need to be able to like say share. So obviously not on every not everybody is like say very confident of already pulling off good quality content based engagement on social media, but we need to start somewhere. The visibility in the current scheme of things can be absolutely enhanced only through regular interaction and participation in the social media, because there is no other choice around it. As much as we don't like, or we don't feel confident or anything, but there is only way we can go about enhancing our visibility is through increasing our visibility in social media, particularly like say LinkedIn and Twitter, which is where most of our target audience are very active. Now, when the one thing is to say increase your visibility, the other is like say know exactly what is this whole visibility business all about. Now think about it. Every single day, we either read some article, we participate in some webinar, we get some content, some knowledge, some piece of information, always, all the time. Now, if we can, at the end of every day, probably like say think about whatever we went through as TNP professionals, starting from like solving a student's problem in college, responding to some request from the management or the academic colleagues, or maybe some interaction that you may have had with your recruiting partners and others. The content, the cue to the surefire way to like say generate content is like say resonate and look and think about whatever transpired in a particular day. So it could be either things you read, the people that you spoke to, or any other experiences that you may have had in terms of a webinar or something. If you summarize all those aspects, you will get at least 2 to 3 points to like say post on your social media for that day or next day. And you can definitely like say start with that. And if original content generation is difficult, then like I mentioned previously in terms of capturing somebody's attention, you can like say retweet or repost with some additional comments based on whatever your experience was. For instance, if you had attended a webinar, you can definitely start by, like, say, at the very least, appreciating the speaker for the particular topic that they had put together, or all of those things. And of course, share your thought process also, or share your feedback. That is still going to be, like, say, starting point for visibility on social media. Uh, so that's the very, very important thing for us to do, and there is no substituting that. You cannot get anybody else to do that, because it's your profile and personality that needs to, like, come out, and that needs to be, like, say, done by you only, sir. Uh, Second is, like, say, so in social media there are two parts. One is the content generation part. Second is making sure that we distribute that content effectively. Many of us across board, what we do when we start our whole engagement with social media is we create content or probably make those posts, and we see that over 2 3 days, no, practically the number of views that you would have got is also very less. Number of responses or likes or reactions is also less. Nothing much seems to have moved. So to start with, you also have to do the whole increasing the distribution or visibility part also, which will mean that you need to, let's say, you make a post on LinkedIn or Facebook or something. You also have to, like, say, take the effort of sending it across on WhatsApp or message to your network, whom you think will genuinely appreciate what you have done. Uh, it could be like a very simple, hello, I've shared my thought on this topic, would like to know your comments. Could be the very simple message, and then you put the link and send it across to all the people. One easy way to ensure this is, like, done in a little systematic manner is creating broadcast lists on WhatsApp. Today everybody is on WhatsApp, and if you're already, like, say, interacted and engaged and networked with some of the industry professionals and academic leaders, and if you feel confident that they would have anyway saved your mobile number, broadcast lists are the best way to go about. Just to call out, if you just broadcast list will only work if the receiver of the at the other end has actually saved your mobile number on his WhatsApp or her WhatsApp. If they have not saved your number, you will not be able to, your WhatsApp message or the broadcast message will not reach them. Uh, Now, of course, once the initial parts are somewhat out of our way and we've started doing some activities and engaging with them, in order to, like, say, enhance the overall visibility of yourself and the institution, we can invite them for participating in some events. So it's the equivalent of our traditional technical symposiums and all of those things, but we could do it in a slightly more easier way and manner, because in the past, if we had to, like, say, invite them, we would practically have to, like, say, do so much of logistics planning and everything. And fortunately, in the virtual world, we don't have to do so much of effort in order to, if we were to, like, say, get somebody on board. uh, Today what we are also seeing is practically everybody is very willingly obliging, particularly when it comes to an academic institution. When it comes to, like, other scenarios, they may still be, like, say, thinking, but once you have started the base level of interaction with the campus recruitment team or somebody, it will be a lot more easier for us to, like, say, get them to participate in some online event and be able to, like, say, engage them. uh, the other trick about engaging with these recruiters is, more often than not, many maybe at the senior level, they're all used to, like, say, doing many webinars and others, so they will be very proficient. But at a mid to junior level, which is where we also need to, like, say, build strong relationship, they will not be very comfortable doing full-blown sessions of, like, say, even half an hour. That in that situation, panel discussion becomes the easy way, because in a panel discussion, the participant at best have to, like, say, spend 5 minutes, or, like, say, maybe 2 to 3 points only. So that becomes a very easy way to interact, or rather feel comfortable. So this is both making sure we're getting the best of information or input that the candidate, that the recruiting professional can give us. At the same time, we're also giving them the confidence and comfort that you don't have to really prepare for, like, say, 3 4 hours for delivering a half an hour or 1 hour lecture. So that way it's like a win-win. And by this, we're also, like, say, being able to put multiple people in one shot, and there are a lot of benefits in starting from the ease of conduct all the way till being able to necessarily engage with them easily. And then this also provides a great opportunity for recruiting managers to interact and network between themselves also. So in fact, many of the panel discussions that we have done, we have seen that those panelists have gone on to become, like, say, great friends. In some instances, it's also happened that they've actually switched jobs because of the introduction that we would have made during our panel discussions. So that way, it's a great opportunity for us to go about it. Now, we'll come to the end of. I just have a couple of more slides after this. How do we become more? Not meaning to say that we're not already organized or thoughtful, but very critical. Again, from our experience of interacting and seeing how a lot of our TNP colleagues interact and engage out there. Some of the things, while we can always say that it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, essence is the content that we put, but it helps if it is done in any post that we make or any mail we send, if it is, like, say, grammatically accurate. The standard invitation mails would have gone through multiple iterations and it will be, like, say, very good, but the LinkedIn post or social media post would not probably merit that level of attention. But in the absence of that, some of the common tricks that a lot of us also uses, like use Grammarly. So Grammarly is a tool. It is a free tool. As you can, the spelling is exactly what I put in the slide. That will do grammar and spelling check automatically. So most of the platforms already do a spelling check, but Grammarly also does a grammar check. So that's a very convenient free tool which you can use to check and recheck anything that you post, any article, even if it is a simple comment, if it is grammatically right, it sends a better impression. So making sure that we are covering those aspects will be very critical. The other thing what we've also seen is a lot of us to this date, when we're looking at engaging with these folks, recruitment folks, we maximum have an Excel sheet or a Google spreadsheet with which we use to manage the engagement. We'll probably have statuses like, say, reached out, when we do last call, when is the next call to be made, call reports, all of those things. But it will extremely useful and purposeful to have a proper CRM deployed. More often than not, we feel all these technology tools are painful and challenging. But believe us when we say this, it is extremely intelligent for us to, like, say, use a proper CRM. And then many of these CRM tools are not even very expensive. Even the most powerful ones, which are marketing driven and all of those things, are extremely economical. It'll at best cost us like some 1,500 to 2,000 rupees per license per month. I'm talking about the kind of use case that you would need in order to interact and engage and track the whole processes. Many of us may argue that all that we have to do is just send one message and keep that whole thing going. But believe us when we say this, if you're going to just keep sending the same message and we don't have a proper method around interacting, which is CRM driven, the probability of success is relatively lesser, is what we find, and hence we strongly recommend deploying a CRM. If not for the entire placement team, at least for one professional in this whole thing, we should necessarily use a CRM, and probably use that itself to, like, say, multiple people can engage so that they are able to. And then most of the CRM companies are also very forthcoming today, giving out a lot of offers: first 3 months free, first 6 months free, in order to increase their penetration. So we should be able to, like, say, latch on to some good offers out there, is what we feel. Yeah. So these are some of the points that we need to, like, say, very critically be sure about. See, at the end of the day, it's very clear, right? The recruiter wants good quality talent. The recruiter is not. I'm talking about the new ones, which not the usual suspects. So we need to appeal to the guy in the way and manner that he or she is going to contemplate, consider us, and come on board. And that will come only when we are going in with a very specific thing. Like, for instance, more often than not, what happens is, like, say, we tend to bucket all IT companies into one slot and say that our students know good coding. And we have trained our students on, like, say, 15 days of coding training, this, that, and all of those things, what we say. Or we bucket all manufacturing companies into one and say that our students have done so many projects, this, that, and all of those things. But what will definitely help is if we get into details of it. It will not be appropriate for me to take names on this forum, but let's assume there is an embedded system company. for practical reasons, we know that they also need candidates who do writing and who eventually will write software only, C or embedded C or C++ or any of these regular programming language what we do. But if you're able to like say customize and tell them that for their requirement, we have certain of those students who have such and such a proficiency, and that will only happen if we know exactly what they're looking for. Uh, if we bucket everybody in the same thing and say that we have like say great students who have done fantastic training, it is not going to help. So we need to be able to like say necessarily do our research in terms of, so when I say research, it's also very straightforward, right? They would have put out job descriptions in all these job portals or any of the other things standing from like say LinkedIn or any of these things where they would have posted. If we just go through the job description, we'll know exactly what they're looking for. I'm talking if they're talking more often than not, they put only work experience profiles that they're looking to fill for in all these job portals. But that will give us a good sense of what is the technology that they're looking at, they're working on, what sort of profiles that they look for, and with that we can like say do our sales pitches very very effectively. Now in today's situation, across board, what we are finding is companies want students who can like say start delivering from day one, irrespective of what stream, be it mechanical engineer who's looking at a design thing, or a civil engineer who can start as a site engineer, or the most common thing, which is the IT and software. Without exception, everybody is looking at cutting down on training expenses, and everybody is looking at somebody who can like start working from day one of them joining. Now, obviously, each one of us have our own ways and means of preparing our students to become job ready. In fact, in the past webinars, we've already spoken about our full stack developer program for it's called the ProGrad and all of those things. Whatever be the choices that you have, the promise of delivering ready to deploy talent will definitely catch people's attention. And it's up to you it's completely up to you to figure out as to how you will go about giving them the whole talent. Today, I'm talking about this week, we already have for our ProGrad programs about 4 companies who are offering that 6 to 7 lakh package, recruiting for at this point in time. And then I'm talking about 2019 and 2020 pass out students who have undergone these training programs with us. So it's not a question of whether they will have hiring requirements or not and all of those things. They're definitely hiring. They want people who can join today, and they're present across. It's not even like say only Bangalore-based companies are doing or Chennai-based companies. We have recruitments happening in there's an Nagpur-based companies, which is one of those companies which is conducting the recruitment process in this week. And there is one from Noida, one from Chennai, one from Hyderabad. Surprisingly, like say this week at least, we don't have any Bangalore-based companies, but because a lot of us also believe that more often than not, we will have only companies who are in Bangalore who will be interested. But it's for us to like say from our respective zones itself. Let's say we are a Coimbatore-based institution, or maybe like a Vijayawada-based institution, or maybe even a remote place, like say in some very remote part of Kerala or Andhra Pradesh, for instance. When I say remote, not the mainstream cities, it will still be like say possible that there are enough and more companies out there which are definitely looking for jobs. For some other purpose, we were doing some research of the number of IT companies that are available, that are operating in a place like say there's a place called Alappuzha in Kerala. It's a touristy place. Mostly, it's famous for the backwaters and all of those things. You'll be surprised. We found almost about 150 IT companies which are operating out of that. Now, how did we go about finding these IT companies? On LinkedIn Sales Navigator, there is a option if you have a sales premium LinkedIn account, you get access to something called a Sales Navigator. You can find companies by location and access everybody in that particular company through these the LinkedIn Sales Navigator platform itself. We were totally amazed, and we thought it was an aberration. You will be surprised of the number of companies that I mentioned we got connected with. We were able to like say scope out at least 20 companies which had more than 50 people headcount, and in a year they at least hire 5 to 7 people, which means a sleepy town like Alappuzha has definitely got uh, an opportunity base of at least 100 plus freshers to be hired. Imagine if you're able to like say emulate that in a place like say Koramangala, which is like say one suburb in Bangalore, or for that matter in your own respective city, or Madurai or Coimbatore or Manipal or any of these places. It's absolutely possible. We just have to do enough research. We should be able to prepare our students and being able to send out the right message. So it's very important that we do this the right way, and then be able to capture people's attention to that end. Before we wind up some of those things, again we are touching upon some critical things that most of us miss when you're doing this whole social media and personal branding. So first point is most of our, so there's something called a title. It is typically the first line which appears immediately below your name on LinkedIn, or if you go to Twitter, the description page. More often than not, many of us don't use that thing very powerfully. We don't mean to say that be very creative and write a lot of very, very flowery things. That's not what I'm saying. But we can definitely, instead of just saying that head T and P, if you could possibly say that connecting industry, connecting smart talent to industry's needs, something like this, just an example. Or it could be providing ready to deploy talent for whichever industry that you want to say appeal to. And this title, this headline can also be changed from time to time. So right now it is say remote working is the flavor of the day. If you probably say that providing remote work ready talent, once Corona goes away or this lockdown goes away, then you could probably change providing ready to deploy interns. Contextually, it's not about it's never about say having one same thing for rest of the year. Not like a it's not like a academic regulation that it has to be that way for 3 years or 4 years, right? We can definitely say go about tweaking it, changing it based on whatever is the timeline, whatever is contextual there. Second point is what we like doing the most today. Whatever is hot and happening, remote working is the hottest keyword everybody's talking about. So any post that you make, any comment that you make, if you can probably bring that and necessarily hashtag it, look at what are all the trending ones. So anything that you do, if you're able to say latch on to whatever is trending, then you will be having a hell of a lot of visibility. Many a times, I'm sure you would have seen a bunch of people who are always active. You'll think that these folks don't have any other job about. All that they do is say sit and keep posting on LinkedIn. Is that how it is? Is what you feel? But believe me, we've interacted with a lot of these guys. They are very smart, and there are a lot of social media tools which if you use effectively, you will not be spending more than half an hour to 1 hour in a day. But still, you can come across as somebody who's super active on platforms.
Rajesh, your voice is completely cut. All right, it looks like a small outage at Rajesh's end, so I'm just going to wait till he comes back. So in the meantime, I would just, I wanted to make you guys aware of our YouTube channel, which is Face Pulse, as well as our next, I also wanted to make you aware of the next presentation that's going to happen on 19th May. So we are having Microsoft's country lead for their fast track program, Ashwini Kumar, come and address the attendees here. I'm just going to send the registration links in the Q&A chat box. So I request you all to please register so that you're able to leverage some insights from how Microsoft can help institutions in these times. So they also have some kind of a big giveaway for those of you who are going to attend the webinar. The giveaway would be at a very large institutional level. So request you to please bookmark this for 19th of May, 3 to 4 p.m. And I've sent you the link in the chat box. The second You could also, in the chat box, you could also type some insights around what kind of webinars that you expect to see, specifically if you have any needs, and we will also try to bring in those presenters from the industry to talk about these topics. So currently we are doing one on capability building for TPOs and one with an external kind of a corporate entity. So we hope to go in this direction until we get a more clarity on what is it that our audiences want. So we did one with Amazon Web Services this last Tuesday, and today is the capability building webinar for the TPOs, and the next Tuesday is again we're having Microsoft. So we seek to go in this direction, and all the recordings of these webinars will be available on our YouTube channel called Face Pulse. So I request you to please check the YouTube channel. Rajesh is just joining back and he's had a power outage. So in the meantime, please feel free to type your questions and I will be taking, I'll be letting Rajesh rejoin and take the questions. Thank you. Request the audience to please type questions. Rajesh is just about rejoining, and once he's in, he'll take up the questions. Okay, how do we understand how to operate LinkedIn? So there are many, I'll answer this question because I'm also part of the core team here. So I would let probably Rajesh add on to my answer. So many companies, so there are many tutorials around which help you set up LinkedIn and make the best use of it. The free version of LinkedIn itself is quite useful and it can help you connect with recruiters all around. So my advice would personally be to first try out the free version, try to understand what the features are available without the paid version, try to make the most of all the features that are available free. And then once you're comfortable with the free version and you want to explore additional features which are paid, I request you to consider LinkedIn Premium. Now, Rajesh was mentioning a specific add-on called Sales Navigator. So that will help you do very specific searches on LinkedIn with respect to, let's say, company's industry sector and location and job titles, etc. So this generally gives you additional, information at your fingertip that you can leverage in terms of making a plan to reach out for the recruiters before you, uh, as you plan for your next graduating year. So I'm taking the next question. Different companies have different recruitment processes. It is very difficult to prepare students because we do not know what they will ask. An interviewer can ask whatever he knows. Every subject is asked. How can we help students with this issue? Sir, my answer is fairly straightforward for this. So recruiters are not looking for someone who can probably answer all of their questions. Recruiters are looking for individual students who are good in one or two things that they can claim they're good in. For example, any recruiter who's coming in has only two questions in their mind. So what is the student good at? And if I recruit the student, can the student come into my company and solve my problem? So I'm testing the culture fit, company fit. All of those things are going through my mind. Obviously, I'll not ask these two specific questions, but this is what I have in my mind. What is the student good in, and can the student come in and solve my company's problems? So the answers to this should lie in expertise. So one student might be very, very, very good in Python programming or Android app development. We have seen that such candidates are able to ace through slightly different companies with different job profiles too, because they believe the same learning and attitude can help the student pick up the skills in that slightly different company. right? So we have also seen those students get easily placed in their expertise areas as well. So rather than look at or preempt the questions that an interviewer might ask, I think you should help. I mean, we as a community should help students to find one or two areas and become really good in that, maybe even to an expert level. So that will generally help students even find opportunities themselves. And if there is an interview question, they'll be able to answer it quite easily. I'm also going to take the next question. Which sector or industry will continue to hire or maybe even ramp up hiring this year, especially in terms of summer placements at MBA Institute? Thank you for the question, sir. In terms of MBAs, shockingly, what we have seen is a lot of summer internships were cancelled and called off, and this year, and students who are just about getting into their summer are also getting that news. That news is trickling through. So summer internships are completely out of the way, and campus placements obviously, will be honored by most of the top companies, but the expectation is that there will be delayed joining for most of the MBAs who are graduating in 2020. The 2021 batch, though, they primarily rely on summer internships for meaningful exposure and also a very big CV item for them. Many students are now from even the top B schools are now at home doing freelance work, trying to find out what best they can do. Some of them are doing unpaid internship. Some of them are even working with us in a prorated kind of a sales-based internship, incentive-based internship. So students uh, are being creative and innovative in how they are approaching this. But in terms of what we could do in terms of prediction, what sectors, etc., I mean, it's quite up in the air. So we do not know which specific industries will take and which specific industries will not. But one trend that we did see is the FMCG sector honor the summer internships, as well as they have still not at least revised the onboarding dates for the 2020 batch of MBAs. So when I say the FMCG sector, all the FMCG companies, all the big ones which go to top schools for recruitment. So I'm sure whatever is the keeping the economy tick, that is, those sectors might survive. I mean, might thrive. So I might leave my answer at that. If I am able to get more insights, we'll be presenting that in the future webinars. I'm going to take up one more question, few more questions. Yes, the video recordings of this will be available in the follow-up mail that will come to you, sir. We'll also be hosting it on our YouTube channel, FacePulse, quite soon. Where can we find internship-related information? So one portal that, there are many internship portals out there. One of the largest portals is Internshala. So that's where we have seen most traction come from for our own internship hiring. So Internshala is quite popular. There are many other internship portals which are doing well in this time. So I would recommend that you check out these portals. I'm taking the next question. Generally, 80% hiring is being done from campuses for IT and management sector. What about other core sectors? So this is an interesting question, mainly because you see on the other hand, the core sectors don't come to campuses, but you do see on the other hand that the core sectors are always complaining about skill shortage. Then what is the problem? So when we try to dig deep in a couple of tier 2 cities in India, we try to do some research, get some insights, etc. These are MSMEs basically, which run core engineering, or these are not the large manufacturers like automobile manufacturers or very large core industries. I'm talking about there's a lot of opportunities in medium to small scale manufacturing enterprises, and some of them may not have a proper HR setup. The founder or the proprietor himself or herself is actually doing the recruitment, and they limit their recruitment to just their local region or territory. So if your college or if your institution is in such a region where, or if you find that in a neighboring region, there's a lot of industry, I think it will be great to reach out to not just HRs, but also the founders and proprietors. And we have seen some colleges innovate and find placements for their core engineers, especially mechanical, civil, chemical, industrial, etc. So these are industries which have, you've tapped the local and the neighboring surrounds for this. The flip side also is that they don't have the capacity to think campus recruitment. So they want people, they want skilled people, and they want them to apply and visit their companies for recruitment. So if you can meaningfully set up an online process, if you can help them see value in hiring from your college, I'm sure that will be a small trickle, but spread across maybe 50, 60 companies, you'll be able to place many students. What is your opinion about product development companies and mass recruiters? Will the numbers be less this year? I'm very sorry, sir. I don't have a ready answer for this. It is still early days. I mean, a lot of colleges and institutions are still trying to close their 2020 batch and start thinking about when the college is reopening, etc. But at least from the mass recruiters, we have had a sound of confidence saying we will recruit. The process might be slightly starting late, and it might be virtual. So they've given a vote of confidence. We are not too sure about the product companies because the numbers are anyway low. We are hoping that they will come in eventually and complete their recruitment mandates. I'm very sorry, audiences. Rajesh is unable to join back. The power outage hasn't been fixed yet, and he's not able to join back. And very lucky that he was at the last slide of his presentation. So I will leave it at that. I look forward to seeing all of you in the next webinar on Tuesday, the 19th May, where we'll have Mr. Ashwini Kumar from Microsoft addresses. I request you to please register there, and thank you all for attending. And once again, hope to see you in the next one.